Hi, welcome to the Monk's Musings. This episode we have Jon Allen. Hello, Jon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. It was great having you today. We did. You were a guest on our weekly show earlier on.
It was good fun.
Which is already out there. A few months, I think, by the time I get to edit this.
It's like Dave. It might be a week. It might be a month. It could be a year. Who knows?
Right.
Yes.
Let's get the first question out of the way.
Always good to start with the first question.
Which is what everyone asks. What got you into magic?
What got me into magic? Like most people, I think I was about 9 years old, and I got a magic book, and I just got interested in from there. But I just think it was something I was always meant to do. You know, the performing and making people laugh and entertaining sort of stuff. Some people will disagree that I actually do that, but no, it was about 9 years old, and I just love the idea of being able to do things, you know. So I've always liked puzzles. I've always wanted to know how things work. So there was that side of things as well. And magic just seemed a natural choice for me to get into. So tricks to start with, and then it just progressed from there, really.
So how long have you been a full-time performer?
I've been a full-time performer for 20-something years. Yeah, about 25. That long? That long.
That's actually surprised me, because I first met you in 2006 at the Ipswich Magic Society, which isn't that long ago. I didn't realise you were going for that long.
Yeah. It's it's been a long time, but I still enjoy it just as much.
Because you've won a couple of competitions, haven't you?
Yeah, the first competition I won, I think, was the IBM in California. That was in 1995, and then the British IBM as well, and Magic Circle, and Zodiac as well. Good old Zodiac.
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
So what got you to do an international convention before a UK one?
I'd been to the IBM the year before. How come you get a coast and I don't, by the way?
I don't know. What's going on?
Thank you very much. So I'd been to the IBM the year before, and I saw the competition, and I was toying around with the competition. I'd done the international magic competition as well, and I got an award of merit. That was the year before, and I went to the IBM in Florida. I saw the competition, and I thought, you know what, I think I could enter this and do well. Everyone wants to win a competition, but I thought I could do well, and so the following year I just chose to enter, and I'd actually designed the competition. It wasn't just a few tricks that I put together. It was an actual act.
Do you do any of that act now?
No. Partly because everything linked to something else.
Yeah.
So if I took one thing out, I couldn't really perform it on its own, and I couldn't do the rest of it.
Is a competition act a real world performance thing? It's like you see a lot of these foreign competition entrants, and they definitely don't work this in the real world.
Well, the real world, there's not one real world, because you've got restaurants, and you've got corporate hospitality, and you've got banquets, and you've got different performing environments as well. You've got parlour as well. But what competition acts do is they can help you, first of all, with timing. So if you get a TV spot and they say, we need 2 minutes and 45 seconds, you can't do 2 minutes and 48 seconds because they have to go to a commercial break or something like that. So
that's why a lot of it's so precise.
Yeah, so competitions, what they should do is teach you how to work to a specific time. And there are certain environments that you can work when you're at a table or slightly more formal, like a competition is.
What kind of working environments do you work in?
Now I do a lot of private parties and corporate events, which is still quite vague.
Yeah.
But I used to do restaurants.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But I think I did Old Orleans in Covent Garden, and also TGI Fridays in Covent Garden for about 7 or 8 years. So that was where I sort of honed my skills, as people would say. So I would do that, and I used to do balloon modelling as well. It was great when people say, "Oh, I've got a 6-month-old baby. Could you do some magic for them?" And it's like, no. But here's a balloon they can choke on.
I've never touched a balloon in my life. I can do a snake.
You can do a snake.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Maybe you can teach me a rabbit later on.
I'll teach you the rabbit. That sounds so euphemistic, doesn't it? So I used to do restaurants, but now it's just private parties or corporate events, whether it's tables at a banquet or just mingling.
We continue performing in a few minutes, but what I wanted to ask you as well, I'm going to move the subject slightly, is magic of today. How do you think the magic that you buy from a magic shop, or magic you see on TV, magic in general, how it differs to how it used to be 20 years ago when you were a full-time performer?
It depends when this is actually going out as to what the magic of today is.
It won't go out in a couple of months' time.
But I think that with magic now is a lot of it is based on what people see in a trailer. The trick is sold in the trailer, and obviously the trailer is made to sell the trick. You don't see a performance of it. You don't see the magician at like a convention or a lecture or something like that doing the trick. You see the promo trailer, and so many magicians get burnt because the trick that they're buying is not what they see in the trailer. So
I agree with you there. From a dealer's perspective as well, it's like if you don't have a good trailer, it seems you can't sell your product. So people might not buy a good product because the trailer's not pizzazzy enough.
Yeah, I think it's getting to a saturation point that the people want the pizzazz in a trailer, but they don't want to be burned or fooled by it. And when I say fooled, I don't mean I don't know how the trick works, but they hide certain aspects of the trick that are important. But if you knew about that when you saw the trailer, you wouldn't actually buy it because it doesn't look as clean.
I guess you prefer, like me, the Mark Mason days where he used to stand behind the counter in his shop and perform a trick to camera, and that was the trailer. Yeah. So you saw everything, and there was nothing hiding anything with flashes or cuts.
Yeah. I try and do that in my trailers, that I'm doing a performance. Now, I think it's okay to hide certain things, like if you know there's a move, like a key bend, I do a flexion key bend. Now you don't need to see how I bend the key, but you know that I've bent it somehow. So I think that sort of thing it's okay to hide because you know you have to do it. But I think if there's a process, so if you see this incredible card trick and it says someone merely thinks of any card and something amazing happens to it, you go, "What? That's incredible." But when you get it, you go, well, when I say any card, it's any of the cards that they happen to be shown. But I said that bit is cut out of a trailer. Then I think that's pretty bad.
No, I fully agree with you. I think a lot of stuff is hidden that doesn't need to be.
Yeah, and a lot of it also is done on the street and it's done real world, but it's heavily edited. So there's a lot of magic now that is, it's this so-called organic magic, or it doesn't seem to use a prop. But I think magicians are looking for the props to do everything for them. Yeah. And that's another problem with magic at the moment.
And also people don't like reading books.
No.
And it's all about one trick products, which is changing the market completely yet again.
Yeah. I mean, you can spend, was it £15 for a one trick DVD?
You can spend £20 for a one trick
£20 for a one trick DVD.
You can spend £20. How much is your yacht book?
Well, the experience book is £22.50.
£22.50, and there's a lot of magic in there.
About 50 tricks.
So effectively, it's the cost of one DVD.
Yeah.
which just shows how.
I think people want that one elusive miracle, and they'll keep trying. And I think it is good to buy magic that you don't want, because then it teaches you your limitations.
Yeah, we're experienced in buying magic, so when we look at something, we sort of use our initiative and try and read between the lines, as they say, and try and see, are we being misled here? Is this going to work for me? Because most of the time as well, you see a performance and it might not be your style, but it doesn't put you off the trick. You say, actually, I can put a different spin to that.
Yeah, and the thing with that, and when you say putting a different spin to it, is important. The other thing with magic and the way that it's sold through the trailers is it's all about the visual aspect of the trick. But for me, when I'm working, it's all about making a connection with the audience. And I say connection, obviously my DVD, but it is important that they care about what you're doing. It's no good just to say, look how visual this is, wow. Because people go, well, all right, so what? I was happy talking to my friend and you interrupted us to show us this. So I think a lot of times with magic, when it's got to be a quick visual for the trailer, that's the emphasis is put on that, as opposed to how can I entertain with it? What can I do with it? And as you said, how can I
It's just created to sell the products rather than
the magician's performance of it.
Absolutely. Talking about tricks, you've created quite a few tricks now.
Yep.
How did you get into starting to create effects? Because I remember that one of your first ones must be double back.
There were a few before then.
Is that?
There were a few before then, but that was the one that sort of put me on the map.
Yeah. And then you had silent treatment.
Silent treatment as well. Destination Box was actually before silent treatment.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay. Early 2000s. But I had right size pen, which was like a growing pen. How much? It was a great principle. It maybe wasn't the right trick, but yeah, there were a few before then. But I think it's just a natural progression from being sort of a creative person, rather than just saying, "Here's the trick," and I just do it the way that it's written. It's a bit like music, where you can either learn the music from the sheet, and that's the only song that you know, or you can learn about the notes and harmonies and everything, and you can create your own,
something original.
Exactly, and so that's the same thing with magic. Is you learn lots of principles, and then you just play. And I've always said that, just go out and play and try things, and you will create other effects.
Because like double back is a stable product. We reviewed it in our show.
Yep.
And it's some modern magician is not aware of it, but I remember everyone performing it at one stage.
Yeah, it was. I think I don't. There is that visual aspect to it, but it's also the presentation as well.
Oh yeah, it captivates them at the changes at the end and stuff. It's what grabs people's attention, and you sort of got them for the rest of your routines.
Yeah,
so they're paying attention then.
Yeah, and that's my one thing that is a sort of a quick visual that I've come out with. The silent treatment was another one that it's one of the top 3 that I'm proudest of, because it's a different type of effect, and it's not a variation on something else.
Yeah, what I really like about that effect is the silent aspect of it. You're performing a magic trick without talking, and everything is, the outcome is so obvious to the layperson that you don't need to talk. You get claps, you get, whatever, you get from it.
Yeah, yeah.
All without doing without even speaking.
You say it's obvious to the audience, but the interesting story with that, and again, it might be helpful for people to hear, is I based the silent treatment on a film called I based it on a film called The Others, which is a film with Nicole Kidman, which is a really good film. You should go and see it. and I came out of the cinema thinking I want to have a magical effect that's based on the premise of the film, and I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. But as I said, magic is very linear. There's a process, and then the surprise at the end is the magical effect. But with the silent treatment and the others, is you don't really know what's going on, but the ending fills in all the blanks as to what's been going on. So it gives it a reason, you know. So that was what I really liked about it.
It's an interesting backstory.
The reason,
it's
the reason for doing it.
It's an interesting backstory. Yeah. Well, recently you've created 2 fantastic products. Briefly touch on Perfect Score.
Okay.
It's a great utility device.
Yep.
But what I wanted to speak about is Paragon.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's one of these things that has got everyone talking, because there seems to be a current craze at the moment with clear boxes, and you know, I love your destination box, and I still haven't got one. Great idea.
Sorry, one out.
Yeah. If I don't have one by the time this is out, then
you can pay in installments.
Off with
it's fine.
£1 a month. Okay. Now you got a mystery box, John Kennedy.
Yep.
I love the product. Idea of a clear box to me doesn't make sense. But Paragon now does make sense.
Okay.
Because of the ending of the effect. Because everything's examinable.
Yeah.
And that's what makes sense about a clear box. Whereas anything else out there with a clear box, to me, it was illogical. It didn't make sense to me. Maybe because I'm old school, mystery box is fine. But now that you've done what you have done with taking 360 and created Paragon, there's a lot of logic in there to me, and I really like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
What we will show now is Jon Allen did a performance to me earlier, and we're going to just slot that in now, and we're going to come back and discuss a bit more about it. Now let's see what this Paragon's all about.
Okay, this is Paragon, and what's in the box?
It's a folded card.
Folded card. If I can ask you to hold on to it, thumb on top. There'd normally be other people, so someone else would hold on to it. I would then get you to choose a card and sign it,
which I have done.
You did earlier. And then I would go on to perform any card trick. We won't waste time doing the card trick. Any card trick, maybe except card on ceiling.
Yeah.
That's not good. So at the end of the routine, inside the box, there is a card. And that card happens to be your signed, what one is it? 3 of diamonds. And that is it. So everything ends up in their hands. If they want to examine it, they can. Because, you know, you may not even be able to see that on camera. It may not have a base to it.
Yeah, no, it's a solid box.
Yeah, we know that, but if someone sees the card in there and that turns out to be their signed card, there's a certain amount of curiosity towards this. But as I said, the nice thing is I can just put it into their hands and then theatrically, in my own time, reveal the
great
card.
ending to an ambitious card routine.
And that is Paragon.
Any card routine.
Yeah.
Now I've just seen a performance for Paragon. I'm curious, how did you get to this stage in creating what you have? Because you saw 360.
Yep. I got 360, and I thought it was a very interesting principle, really clever principle. It just didn't suit me, and the handling didn't suit me. And that's what I said before about if you get a trick.
It was a great effect. Wayne Dobson, you know, we're not taking that away.
No, it's a great trick. But as I said, this is the thing about buying tricks and realizing that they're not for you. So you can find your own way in magic to figure out, well, which tricks do suit me.
It's a progressive process, isn't it?
Yeah. So I like the effect. I always like the effect. The effect of a card ending up in a box is great. I love it. And so when I was just playing around with it, and as I normally do, I try and change things, and I realised that I could change the method. And the funny thing is that I filmed myself performing Paragon, and I sent it to Wayne and also to Mike Sullivan as well, and they didn't know what on earth I was doing because I'd set it up as though I was performing 360. So I said the effect of the card in the box I love, and I too felt that a card appearing or card being in a clear box didn't make too much sense, but a prediction would, because you'd want a prediction on view. But then again, talking to Dan Harlan, he convinced me otherwise, because he's normally right. He'll probably say he's always right.
He's never wrong.
He is.
He's never wrong.
And what he was saying is that magicians do the impossible. So the fact that there's a card there and their card's here, it's impossible. You don't need to give them an explanation if you don't want to. We just do things that are impossible. But you may also say about, it's time travel or something like that, or the fact that there's a doppelganger, that two things look exactly the same. So the fact that there's a card in a box that people can see is not necessarily a bad thing. At the very base level, yes, you're right, it's impossible. It can't happen. Well, that's what I do, So, as I said, so now I do Paragon, and I love it. It's a lot smaller than the destination box. The destination box isn't huge. Online people are. It's like I have to have a trolley to wheel.
Oh no!
Tables,
It's that big.
It's about that big. So, it's big enough to be a feature item, but it's still small enough for me to carry around.
It's not convoluted weight.
No. But with Paragon, it's really it's really small. I can have it in my pocket, and I can ask someone else to hold on to it. I love it.
Because when you first showed me Paragon at Blackpool, people were saying you need to go and see Paragon. I'm thinking, well, how good can it really be? There's so much hype going around. But when you first performed it to me, I thought that's just pure genius.
Oh.
And now, no, seriously, it's very rarely, compliment an effect. Nothing really excites me. But when I found out the method for Paragon, I thought that is really good. That's so clever, because it's taken away all the negative aspects I have about a card in a clear box.
Yeah.
And now it's changed it completely, because now it's examinable, and there's a lot of logic in that to me.
Well, I know there are going to be people that are saying it doesn't have to be examinable, and there are certain tricks that it's very good. And if they examine the props, they find out how it works.
I fully agree with that point of view.
Yeah. But by having a box that is examinable, it's not just if they say, "Can I have a look at it?" They can. But taking on that point, it's a clear box, and people will say, "Well, what are they looking for?" Yeah. It's a clear box, but they've just seen their signed card going into that box. Are there any holes in it? Are there gaps? Does it come apart?
Well, that's the difference. For example, mystery box and destination box, they can't see inside it.
No.
So when you tip their signed card from the box or the container, whatever it is, there's only one conclusion: it's their card. But if you've got a clear box and there's already a card there before it starts, having it examinable at the end is probably a benefit, because it's an even stronger miracle.
Well, it's also with the routining as well, because I don't have to put the box away or sort of keep it out of reach. I can actually put it back onto someone's hand, which enables me to very theatrically take my time and show how clean it is and open up the card.
When you showed it to me at Blackpool, what made me really smile was you giving me the card and examining it. And I didn't see the 2 seconds before that moment. It was so clean. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know if we can mention it, but it was just right in front of me. No clue. When did he do it?
So it's just nice to be able to, in a walk around with a table situation. I can put things onto the table. But if I'm doing walk around for people, which a lot of work is done walk around, I can just put it down into their hands, and if they want to have a look at it, they can. I don't have to be very possessive of it or say, let's just get rid of that. You can just be very clean and open, and as I said, I can just theatrically open the card, because they know it's their card.
Yeah.
They can't believe it's their card, but I can just milk that for all it's worth to go.
And the longer you milk it, the suspense gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and so it's I just love it.
Talking about Paragon and folded up card in the box, whatever. With no point in hiding, there's a Mercury card folder involved. So you created a utility device.
Yes.
For a perfectly scored, as the name, no pun intended, perfect score.
No.
To be able to set the cards up to do a perfect Mercury card fold.
Yeah.
And it's really cheap. You're selling it for £10.
I can't see the amount of people that say it's too cheap. I'm like, really? You can always give me more money, if you think it's too cheap. But the thing about coming up with perfect score was because of the card to clear boxes.
Yeah.
Because you've got these wonderfully folded, perfectly folded cards in the box, and yet the card that comes out wasn't necessarily anywhere near looking like it.
Well, it's a really clever idea. It's really the props alone. Everything's laser cut and the cutting knife is really well done. And for £10 it's really good, and it does help with a really good.
Yeah. I'm not claiming to be the person who invented
Tommy
Wonder.
Tommy Wonder. I saw a lecture at the Day of Magic in Milton Keynes by Gary Young, and Tommy Wonder went in length regarding his scoring technique. So but your utility device.
It's really just.
It's good.
I can tell people it's a template.
Yeah.
So you can just easily score the card.
And the great thing is when you're doing a Mercury card fold, it just folds itself.
What was funny
rather than you do knowingly do it, but with this, it's like when you get a piece of paper and fold it in four. When you refold it, it like folds itself because it's already creased and everything. And same with that, with this technique, shall we say, it just folds itself.
It sets it up. And what was funny is, as I said, at Blackpool, I was getting people that can't do a Mercury fold. They know the actions, but they couldn't do it. And he just said, just do it with the scored card.
Just push your hand forward and it does itself.
Oh, yeah, and you get people, and this is another sort of important point, is people will say, if you just practice and practice and practice, you don't need it. But for me,
I disagree with that. I've seen professionals do a really bad one and they know what they're doing, because sometimes you can't control how something's going to fold.
And there is good enough. But if you can go that little bit further, if something helps you, I'm of the opinion that I don't care how the magic is achieved. I don't have to use pure sleight of hand. If I can use a gimmick, I'll use a gimmick. If I can do something sneaky, I'll do something sneaky. It doesn't have to be pure. And I know there are people out there that go, I would never use any gimmick, nothing to help me. And it's like, then that's fine. If you don't need to pre-score the cards, that's fine. I'm not going to force you to do it. But for those people that can't or need help,
it's a great. If you haven't got one or you're curious to see what it is, contact your local magic dealer, and hopefully I'm local. The online's local. Now, before we go, is there any advice you would like to give up and coming magicians from your experience of being a full-time pro? Just make it quick. A piece of advice for someone.
Make it quick. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to give you some real advice, but I've got to make it quick. Okay. Well, my one piece of advice that I tell people is don't just concentrate on magic, because when you work for people, they're interested in you as a person. So I always tell people, find out what's happening in the news and pop culture. I did an event. And we were talking about Justin Bieber and Mitt Romney's tax returns, who's a US governor.
And you got paid to do that?
And I got paid to do that, but I knew about them. So the magic is important, but try and have a bit more to you than just the magic.
Fantastic. On that note, thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
And time for food.
Yes,
or breakfast.